Greetings, everyone. Well, last time I gave some of my rather ranty thoughts on, I guess a little bit about the movies, but more about just a lot of stupid things I was seeing people saying, like comparing the old ones to the new ones. It's fine to compare, different versions and stuff like that, obviously, but a lot of the comments I was seeing were just plain ignorant, Like the comments that you guys gave in the comments for the video were way more civil and well thought out than anything I saw in all the, message forums and whatnot I was visiting. Yeah, man. So yeah, long and the short of it is, this is the more accurate version of Conan as far as being true to the original character. These two are fun films, but are not as accurate to the original literary character. A lot of people say that that this one in particular is the better film in terms of, story structure and whatnot. And I think this one probably holds together a little bit better. The main issue I had with this one was just that I didn't find the villain particularly compelling compared to the old ones. I mean, in this one you have James Earl Jones as the evil sorcerer that Conan is dealing with. I mean, come on, freaking Darth Vader himself, Whereas in this one you've got some guy who I think I've seen in some other movies. I mean, he's a great actor. I thought he did a great job with the performance. I just didn't find the character as compelling as a villain. He didn't convince me as being an evil sorcerer. He was more just kind of a warrior looking to get sorcerer's powers. And I'd rather just have a warrior, like have Conan fight some big hulking warlord of some kind. That's like something out of the stories, or just a balls to the wall evil sorcerer. That's it. Maybe in a sequel. Now, some of you said, well, the movie bombed at the box office, so we'll never get a sequel. Well, that very well may be. However, there's been a lot of movies in the past that have done poorly at the box office and then found an audience and a profit later in the world of home video. So, never say never. I'm not saying that Conan is, quite on the same level as some of those. Some examples that spring to mind of movies that bombed and later found an audience: Blade Runner, The Thing, Tron, all of which had or have in the works sequels or prequels because of their success on home video. They later became hits and gained fan followings and such. So, I don't know. I don't think Conan's as bad as everybody says it is. I enjoyed it. Obviously, I will watch it again and again and again. To me, it was just a pleasure to actually be able to visit Hyboria in visual form, and with an actor who I think did an admirable job bringing the character to life. For all its flaws, I think it's a very good-looking film, and I think Jason Momoa did a fine job as Conan. Whatever. Love it, hate it, I don't care anymore. Anyway, today we're going to talk about the Blu-rays. The actual Blu-rays themselves. How are they? How do they look? How do they sound? What are some of the issues with them, if any? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today on the Multimedia Chronicles. Welcome back. Alrighty, well, let's start off with the first Conan the Barbarian on Blu-ray. Now, these two here were actually released when this was in theaters. A fairly obvious tie-in there. The same time, the first season of the animated series was released on DVD, and then the same day that the new movie came out on Blu-ray, the second volume of the animated series came out on DVD. So, yeah, no coincidence of timing there. Well, it makes perfect sense. If you're going to cash in right. Okay, so Conan the Barbarian, of course, was John Milius's classic film from 1982 that, even fans of the books will tell you that this is not accurate to the original story, but they enjoy the film, and I would certainly be one of those. Now, I got to tell you, I had not actually seen this movie probably for about 20 years. And so when I popped it in the player and watched the Blu-ray, it was pretty much new to me all over again. So no fancy disc art there, kind of disappointing. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you. Well, anyway, in terms of extras here, we have some deleted scenes. We have Conan Unchained, the making of Conan the Barbarian, special effects, the Conan archives, and the feature commentary with director John Milius and Arnold Schwarzenegger. As far as I can tell, that's all the same extras that have been on the various deluxe edition DVDs of the movie that have been coming out over the years. It doesn't seem to be anything new there, although it is now D-Box motion enabled, so you can turn Conan the Barbarian into a ride film if you have the gear for that. Now, I have to pause for a moment and address a few issues. There were some problems, apparently, with this Blu-ray release, but in digging into the issue a little bit, it's not necessarily a problem with the Blu-ray release. It's a problem with the existing elements and such. Basically, okay, when Conan was originally released in theaters in 1982, it was released with monaural sound, so not even in stereo. It was released in mono, much to the disappointment of Basil Polidoris, the composer of the fantastic musical score for it. He was really hoping that they would put it out in stereo, but so to give his music proper scope and depth and oomph in the theaters, but sadly they didn't. They put it out in mono. And any releases that are out there that contain the original mono mix do not have these problems. In the 5.1 surround sound mix, which is what is used for this Blu-ray and what has been used for the majority of DVD releases, there's some issues with the score. And this is why I mentioned the score, because, well, that's what the issues are with. Basically, there's a few scenes where there's elements of, like, either elements of the score that are missing. Like, for example, there's a scene where raiders are attacking. I think it's right near the beginning of the film, where raiders are attacking Conan's village, and there's supposed to be this choir, this epic choir section in it, and the choir part is missing. And then there's some other examples later on that I can't remember off the top of my head. But if you poke around, I'm sure you can find some articles on the subject fairly easily. Yeah, basically any Blu-ray review is going to mention the problems. And apparently there's a shot that was done day for night, meaning shot in the day and then post-processed to look like night, that did not have the post-processing applied. So, yeah, well, I don't know. See, the problem for me is I hadn't seen the film in so long that, to me, nothing seemed to miss, because I don't remember the film that well, because I was never a big fan of it. Like I say, I was never really a fan of Conan back in the day. It's not until, basically this year that I've actually started, actually become a fan of Conan, very, very late into the franchise. But, yeah, so I don't have that frame of reference, but I am assured by many lifelong hardcore fans of this film there are serious problems with the sound mix. Now, that said, it's only in a couple of scenes, like 2 or 3 scenes, where there's elements missing. And in digging into the issue a little bit more deeply, it turns out what the problem is, it seems, is those elements are just plain missing. They just don't exist anymore, at least not as far as the, the master elements exist. Well, I know that there's the soundtrack CD, so I guess in a pinch they could lift it off of that, but you can't make a surround track from the stereo on that. I don't know, whatever. But the long and the short of it is, all existing DVD releases that have a surround mix of Conan are missing those pieces of music. So contrary to the current popular belief, it's not exclusive to the Blu-ray. If you have it on DVD, if you got any DVD release of the past 10 years, chances are you've been watching it with the wrong mix all this time. So really, you're not going to be missing anything by picking up the Blu-ray. Now, in terms of the picture quality looks fantastic. It looks great. Lots of film grain. Everything looks as it should. And I thought it was fantastic. I mean, 1982 was a year everybody seemed to be using really grainy film stock. And, for something like Conan, that works particularly well anyway, because it's got that darker, grittier look to it. I remember Predator. The original Predator was done with high-speed, extra grainy film stock intentionally to give it a grittier look and such. I mean, anything shot on film is going to have grain anyway, but it's a little more apparent for some reason in films from 1982. I don't know why. And I have no problem with that, because, as you know, I've always liked the look and texture of film grain. Then we have Conan the Destroyer. Conan the Destroyer looks a little bit better. This, of course, is from 1984. Yeah, not much I can say about this. As far as I can tell, it's about as close to a perfect presentation as you can get. The only extras on it are the theatrical trailer, and once again, it is D-Box motion enabled. So you can turn both of them into ride films if you want to. So there we go, Conan the Destroyer. And that's pretty much it. I wanted to say the most about the first one because I know there was some issues. But honestly, in digging into the issue, apparently those issues have been around for many, many years as far as the releases go. So the only way you can get the movie with those sound elements intact is to get the DVD release that has the mono soundtrack. But then you've got that beautiful score in mono sound. So there, I guess the long and short of it is there really is no perfect version. Oh, one other thing I should mention. Some of you were asking me which cut is on this particular Blu-ray. This is the international cut. Basically the same cut as the US cut. The same cut that's been on all of the DVD releases. Apparently the true original theatrical cut has not been released at all, or at least over here. Yeah, so anyway, it's the international cut. It does not have the scene where Conan is having a nice little reminiscent conversation with Subotai. However, on the UK Blu-ray release, that does have the scene. Apparently the UK version is the extended version, which I think runs about 4 or 5 minutes longer. For some reason, IMDb only lists the running time of the theatrical version. It doesn't even mention the extended version, which I find annoying and typically incomplete for an IMDb listing. You'd think something big like Conan the Barbarian would have a proper listing with all the information that people are going to want. And then I found these lovely articles that compared the extended version to the theatrical version and all the differences. But do you think they tell you the running time anywhere in there? No, that simple basic piece of information like this is how long the theatrical version runs, this is how long the extended version runs. That was not in the article anywhere to be seen. Like, how hard is it to have that one fucking piece of basic information, the first thing most people are going to look for when they're trying to find out how extended the extended version is? Yeah, anyway. I don't know how extended the extended version is. I've never seen it, and apparently nobody knows. And if they do know, they're keeping it all to their fucking selves. So if any of you know, post it in the comments below, so then we'll all know. And then everybody thumbs up that comment to the top so a million people don't say the same thing. Okay, so Conan the Barbarian looks good. Sounds as good as any of the DVD releases, except a slight bump up in bitrate, obviously. Conan the Destroyer looks and sounds great. Conan the Barbarian, the new one. This one obviously looks and sounds fantastic because it's a brand new film. Yeah, I really saw no complaints there. I've heard that the 3D, like the 3D and the 3D version, is not terribly spectacular. It is a good old post-converted rather than being filmed in native 3D, which is unfortunate because it's obvious when you watch it, when they were filming it, it was always intended to be in 3D, so I don't know why they didn't use 3D cameras. Anyway, so there you go. So now here we have, it's a 2-disc edition, and there's an ad for Goon in it. Why is there an ad for Goon in Conan? Like, how is this going to appeal to fans of this? You know, like, how is this even close to the same genre? Like, at least keep it the same genre if you're going to put commercials in my inserts. Alright, anyway, so here we have, this is basically the version that has everything. We got a DVD edition here. And we got the Blu-ray. This is interesting, though. The Blu-ray 3D and the Blu-ray 2D are on the same disc. Yeah, in other ones I've seen, it's been on 2 discs, but nope, this one they actually put it on both, so that's pretty cool. We got a pretty decent pile of special features here. Disc 1, we've got the 3D version of the film, the 2D version of the film. We got 2 feature-length commentaries, one with director Marcus Nispel. Another one that stars Jason Momoa and Rose McGowan. I was actually listening to a bit of that one the other day, and it's quite entertaining. The Conan Legacy, the history of the Conan character and its influence on the filmmakers of the new Conan the Barbarian. That's a really interesting little documentary. I've actually watched all the featurettes on here. That's an interesting little documentary. It goes into the history of the comics, the books, everything. And then we have Robert E. Howard, The Man Who Would Be Conan, which is a nice and far too short little documentary about the life of the creator of Conan, Robert E. Howard. Battle Royale, engineering the action, an in-depth look at the film's major action scenes, and Staging the Fights, see how the stunt team acts out the battles prior to filming. So yeah, quite a lot of interesting behind-the-scenes stuff about the making of the action sequences and fight choreography and stuff like that. Now I should mention also, speaking of the Blu-ray 3D version, they're being a little bit sneaky with this one. If you want the extras, the only way you can get the extras on Blu-ray is to get the 3D version. Now the 3D version does of course include the 2D version. However, you can also get the 2D version on its own. However, it is a bare bones release. So you don't get any of the featurettes, and I don't think you get the commentaries either. So you basically just get the movie and that's it. So that kind of sucks. I will freely admit that sucks ass. I had planned to pick up the 3D version anyway, simply because I know eventually I'll get a 3D TV, and it would be nice to have at least a few movies to watch on it. But, it sucks for people who really don't care about 3D, and I know there's a lot of you out there. And, myself, I can kind of take it or leave it as well. I mean, it's really not a big deal to me. But when something is filmed natively in 3D, or if it's an animated film that has had proper post-conversion done or something like that, then that's a little bit different. But, I don't know. Anyway, overall, good stuff. Conan the Destroyer, there's no issues with whatsoever, which I think I mentioned before. Am I repeating myself in my old age? Probably. There's no issues with that. It looks and sounds beautiful. Again, Basil Poulador's score comes through loud and clear, and I defy you to not have the theme running through your head for days afterwards after watching that movie. Yeah, so I don't know what more I can say about the movies on Blu-ray other than if you're a Conan fan, get them. What are you waiting for? You will love them. If you're intimately familiar with the original mono track of the first one, you'll probably be irritated by the missing score pieces. But chances are, if you've only ever seen Conan on DVD, you've never heard those missing score pieces to begin with. So quit your bitching and moaning and buy the damn Blu-ray. Yeah, I don't know. I really wish we'd find out the actual official story on that. I wanted to mention also one of the things. One of the things people talk about the new one being similar to the old one, the logos. Now in this one, of course, we have the sword going through the logo. This one, if you look, it's actually going behind the logo. I think they're both kind of cool, but honestly, I kind of like the old one better. Because if you look at the old one, it's like it's interwoven through the letters, and you kind of look at that logo and you're like, how does that work exactly? Like how does it sort of, it goes over that part of the O and then behind that and then over the N and behind, it's cool. I like little brain twisting logos like that. MC Escher would be proud of that Conan logo. Alrighty, that's it from me to you for now, folks. So pick up all the Conan Blu-rays and just have a sword and sorcery weekend of doom. Alrighty, thanks for watching. So until next time, sayonara. Where Conan is talking to what's his face? I can't remember his name. You know who I'm talking about anyway. The warrior guy, friend of his. Hang on, I'm gonna look it up right now. Looking it up. IMDb is our friend. Subotai. So it does not have the scene where Conan is having a nice little reminiscent conversation with Subotai.